How good is Blade Runner 2049? 31 years after the release of one of the most groundbreaking films of all time came the sequel Blade Runner 2049. It's difficult for any sequel to live up to the original, especially if the original was good. But what happens if the original was magnificent? That's the hurdle that Blade Runner 2049 had to overcome. Now, you can't really talk about Blade Runner 2049 without some understanding of the original 1982 film, Blade Runner. It was based on a novel by Philip K. Dick called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And it essentially became the first Western cyberpunk film. The first time that we had seen the concept of a dystopian cyberpunk universe presented on screen. And it was glorious. This was Ridley Scott's golden rainbow unicorn with sprinkles. It was visually stunning with effects that hold up today. The entire vibe of the film was perfect and it set the standard for every other cyberpunk film to come. To even consider making a sequel, Denis Villeneuve must have a set of cojones the size of Long Island, either that or a narcissistic personality disorder, in order to think that he could take this job on. This is an unenviable task for any director. Inevitably, hardcore fans of the original are going to hate something about it. That's almost a given. I've never ever encountered a situation where a sequel was made and everybody was just happy about it. But on the other side of the coin, who wouldn't want to be able to stamp their mark on a franchise so rich in history? If you can pull it off. So how did he do? Well, Villeneuve, who is otherwise known for films like Sicario and Arrival, is a capable director, and as it turns out, he was probably the right choice for this film. There are two things you need to know about Blade Runner 2049. The visuals and the soundtrack. When I first saw this film, I went to the cinema and saw it on the big screen. And it was fucking amazing. The thing that was the most dramatic, powerful, and hair-tingling about this film was the soundtrack. It was done by Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallfisch, who did a fantastic job of reimagining the original work done by the incredibly talented Greek composer Vangelis, who unfortunately passed away in May of this year. The soundscape was epic. The movie almost didn't need words. The soundtrack brought all of the grand themes to life. The second thing of note when watching this movie was the visuals. It was visually grandiose, without being corny or over the top. It was futurism done in a classy way. Sprawling landscapes and mile-high towers reminiscent of the original film. Knee-deep ash on the pavement, rain, and all of the vital components of a Blade Runner universe. Holograms lit up the night skies, but they weren't cheesy or gimmicky. The visual and auditory components of the original were captured in full. But was the story any good? Good question, thanks for asking. Well, actually, yes, the story is pretty good. When you think about the possible stories that they could have used as a follow-up to the original film, I think they did well. There are only so many storylines that they really could have chosen from that hold true to the original, keeping the themes of replicants, and especially if they wanted to include Harrison Ford in the cast, which they clearly did. I think that the plot satisfies in that it continues on from the original storyline and makes sense. You can understand why crazy psychopath Nyanda Wallace would want to find this wonder child. When replicants are able to break their programming and adopt reproductive capabilities, of course it's going to create a stir. How about the cast? Well, the cast is solid throughout, I would say. I like Ryan Gosling. He doesn't come across as one of those action hero douchebags that we so often get. He appears to be an actor that exists in more than two dimensions. Ana de Armas is gorgeous as the pixie-like love interest that is far more hollow than she would initially appear.
Quiet now. I've been inside you. Not so much there as you think.
My favourite performance was Sylvia Hoeks, I don't know, as Love, Wallace's psychotic replicant assistant. She was brilliant at projecting a character that was at the same time incredibly shallow while being complex. Love represented a replicant that was acting, trying her hardest to pretend to feign human emotions that weren't really there. We see moments of desperation to connect.
It is invigorating being asked personal questions. Makes one feel desire.
Personal vindictiveness.
I'm gonna tell Mr. Wallace you tried to shoot me first. So I had to kill you. And do what you gotta do.
As well as detached cruelty.
I do hope you're satisfied with our product. I love you.
Dave Bautista was good as Sapper Morton, and of course Harrison Ford and Robin Wright are great actors, and both did a solid job. Jared Leto's performance was slightly bemusing. I'm not actually sure whether he gave a good performance or not. The character was certainly memorable, and maybe that's enough, but I'm not really sure if Leto did a good job of bringing through the character of Wallace. With his staccato, offbeat line delivery and weird performance, Wallace's character certainly seemed a little more one-dimensional than a lot of the others. Tell me what you think in the comments below. So how does it compare to the original? Well, perhaps that's not a fair comparison. How is anything supposed to match up to a legend? And that's what Blade Runner is, a legend. I never watch a sequel and think that it's going to be better than the original, because they rarely ever are. While we might have new technology, amazing new tools to create visual effects and soundscapes, the original films have exactly that. They are original. When they came out, they were the first. You can't ever be the first again. So in many ways, I don't think it's fair to try and compare the sequel to the original. They are movies that exist in two separate times, and for two separate reasons. The original was groundbreaking. The best that we can ever hope from the sequel is that it will be faithful. Not in a stop sleeping with everybody in the neighbourhood type of way, but in a loyal representation of the original world kind of way. And I think that 2049 does that. It manages to bring a good story with characters and an environment that are faithful to the original story, along with amazing visuals and soundtrack. What more can you really ask? When I left the cinema on that fateful night, I thought I had found my new favourite film. But as time went on, and as I purchased the Blu-ray and watched it on my home TV, even with the soundbar turned on, things changed. The drama of seeing the film writ glorious on the silver screen and the massive impact of the soundtrack coming through those huge cinema speakers was not there. Without the impact of those two incredibly important factors, the film was stripped down to its bare essentials and had to stand up on the story and characters alone. And they are good. The story is solid and the characters are acted well. But without the impact of the two glories, the story becomes longer, slower, and less overwhelming. The simple fact is that this is a cinema film. It loses about 50% of its impact if you can't watch it on the big screen with a massive sound system. Now maybe if you have a projector at home and a really kick-ass audio system, you might get close to that. But even on my 65-inch screen with my soundbar and surround sound system, it just didn't quite catch the aura of the first experience. Maybe 2049 is like a drug. It will never be as good as the first time, and you spend the rest of your life chasing the dragon trying to recreate that first experience. But sometimes that's the way it works with movies. You hit upon a gem and it takes you by surprise. You get this amazing once-in-a-lifetime experience, and with each successive viewing, that feeling and that experience diminishes. Don't get me wrong, Blade Runner 2049 is a great film, and it's definitely worth a watch, but its rewatchability is not as great as I would hope. The story drags a bit in places and depends a little too much on the atmosphere and soundtrack. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Did you love this film? What do you think needed improvement? Please remember to like this video and subscribe to this channel. It really helps the channel to grow. Stay classy out there, internet.